Welcome back, everybody, to Hashpack's Hedera showcases, where we are highlighting builders shaping the future of Hedera. Well, we have major news in the ecosystem today. Hashport announcing the launch of the HBAR Faucet and HashPass. These aren't just tools, they're a bridge for the next wave of users on the Hedera network. Super excited today to be joined by Jesse from Hashport. Jesse, let's start with the story. Why did Hashport decide to build this faucet, and tell us about Faucet and HashPass? And yeah, where's the gap to be filled here? Because this is obviously a big gap to fill.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having us on today, Solomon. It's something that Hashport has wanted to be able to offer for the ecosystem for quite some time. It's actually a tool that really was a missing piece that a lot of other ecosystems have had, and so something that we think will really help to bring new users into the Hedera ecosystem. One of the big problems in Web3 is the cold start problem, when you're trying to get from existing networks that you find yourself on into new ecosystems if you don't have the native token of that ecosystem that you're looking to go to, because a lot of times as a result you're left to either trying to find someone to pass on some tokens through a Discord or a Telegram group, or going to a centralized exchange to get those tokens. So to quickly get people into the ecosystem, the faucet is something that will enable existing Web3 users on other networks to quickly and efficiently get some HBAR and be able to get going within the ecosystem. HashPass is also another feature that we're offering, that over time, as platforms in the Hedera ecosystem integrate with it and start to look at the scoring system for HashPass in terms of wallet history and activity on those accounts, they'll be able to offer better security to their existing users, being able to differentiate potentially between civil attacks, different things of that nature. So it's really about continuing with that idea of creating functional trust for the Hedera network, as well as making the network as accessible as possible.
Yeah, 100%. And you mentioned users, like bringing users and making it easier for users that are in different ecosystems to come and onboard into Hedera. And when we say users, like you mentioned, like it'd be great to have those be real people. I think a lot of the times in crypto, like there's these kind of analytics and metrics for the sake of analytics and metrics, and it's like, well, how many real users are we actually getting here that are actually contributing value into the ecosystem? So I think this is pretty cool. I know. I'm excited to see how you guys end up rolling this out in a way that you feel is fair and, not utilizing people's data and stuff like that, obviously, but just kind of looking at that from a meaningful transaction history and being like, okay, this maybe makes sense to participate in the faucet and onboard. But, what do you go ahead, good. Yeah.
I was just going to say that's kind of the beauty of it. It's all on-chain data and information, looking at the history of an account, how an account has behaved. And over time, as that account, generates more and more history for itself, it can prove to be a more trustworthy account. Is it behaving in a way that is, commensurate with a regular user, or is it behaving more like a bot, right? And over time, an account that generates, a significant history for itself and a varied history might be treated differently by dApps and platforms, because they know that account's most likely a good faith user. So I think really it boils down to integrating services like this across the ecosystem, and users being able to grow their score over time.
I think what's really interesting, and I brought this up before, and this is maybe a curveball question, not really a curveball question, just a kind of broader thought. I really do think, we talk about all these things in crypto. We talk about real world asset tokenization. And I think one thing that we kind of forget, or at least the kind of the whole point of this space, is like the democratization of not only finance, but I look at it as like data too. Like, what can my data do in the future? Like, so like, I envision a future almost like years from now where if I'm a good user and I have a good reputation in X, Y, and Z, what's the value of my attention over a bot's? You know what I mean? Like, how much more value does my account hold than some bot account? So like, that's going to open up, at least I would think it would, all sorts of opportunities for like projects to try to incentivize and bring over like those real users, based on like, you know, I'm going to pull this user's attention span into my project because this wallet or this account is worth X, Y, and Z. Do you kind of see that in the future, like something like that happening with, especially with like, you know, the tools that AI can bring? Like, you think different wallets and different accounts, not just from a financial, how many dollars are in this account, but what is the activity of this account, and what does that look like for, you know, I want that user over on in my application type thing, you know?
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting duality with having, you know, AI and agents being sort of a secondary world out there where they're going to be interacting and moving around, but at the same time, ultimately distributed ledgers, you know, we've created these to help humans and to help people do varying things, with, you know, trust and visibility. And so I think one of the things that will be beneficial for real life people is the idea that as you grow the reputation of an account that you're interacting with in this Web3 world, there might be additional benefits that platforms offer. You know, say, for a lending protocol, you might get preferential rates for if you have a certain score over, you know, XYZ, because they know your account is more than likely trustworthy, or more trustworthy, I should say. And so I think there's a lot of ways that could be taken, or, you know, potentially you get an NFT for, you know, having a sufficient score, or this or that, where you can, the social aspect of it comes in a lot more than it has to date for Web3.
Do you think that, like, and I think one of the big barriers obviously here, and it seems like something so simple, but it's obviously not. I mean, you have to like maintain a little bit of HBAR for those, you know, not familiar with the way that Hedera, you know, accounts work. You have to be able to associate different things, or, you know, associate a token or associate an NFT or whatever it may be. And it's almost like web design 101. It's like, how can I get a user to be able to do what a user should be able to do with the minimum amount of clicks on my website? Like,
Right.
like if you build a website and it's like, I want a user to be on an email list, but it takes 5 clicks to get to that email list, you probably lose most people before they even get to click 4. So this is just like, let's remove one more kind of barrier to entry to get accounts created and get a user doing something. So what do you kind of envision this, like, just in general? Like, what do you think the impact's going to be on the ecosystem? Because right now we really don't have anything like this, and this is kind of new, obviously just launching today.
Yeah, and it's kind of new from the perspective that there aren't many mainnet faucets out there that are directly an actual faucet. So it's interesting from that perspective. But from what you're mentioning in terms of reducing the friction, that's really what it's all about, in terms of getting, like I said, existing users from other networks to come over, you know, frictionlessly and seamlessly. And so I think over time, what you'll see is, you know, platforms potentially integrating the service and being able to do various things with it, so that you drastically reduce the number of steps that it takes for a user to quickly get onto the network. And I think at the end of the day, that's what we're all really looking for here, is to be able to get people up and running on the network as quickly as possible. If you know, for instance, come across, you know, a bridge, and you're able to suddenly immediately interact with the network, instead of having to first go to a centralized exchange, or to you know, someone you may know on a Discord or a Telegram to get some native token first. It's a lot more seamless of an experience, and people are probably a lot more likely to want to come in to experiment and you know, see what the network has to offer.
I think it's cool too, because you know, when you tie in something that can pull real metrics, and like I said, kind of earlier on, I just really think, well, you and I both know, we've been here a while, there's a lot of smoke and mirrors in crypto.
There's a lot of what, sorry?
Smoke and mirrors.
Yeah.
Like, I think there's a lot of like, here, these metrics matter, like when they don't. Like, I think real metrics matter, but I think it's arguable what are real metrics versus just kind of, you know, metrics for the sake of metrics.
Right.
What I think's interesting is like, if projects end up integrating something like this, like to see what they're pulling for like real accounts wanting to onboard via Faucet or whatever it may be, like getting real users versus, just stating X amount of wallets have this token, but it's like, okay, but are the wallets active? Are they real people? Are they bots? Are they what? So like, I think when you see HashPass or HashPass integrating with the HBAR Faucet in the future, it'll be cool to watch how the reputation intermingles with people, the actual accounts using the faucet.
Yeah, I think so too. And I mean, there's also a transaction list for the faucet that people can actually look at in real time just to see what drips have been coming from the faucet. So, and that's obviously all logged on Hedera. So it will be interesting to see how people interact with it and how users come across, and then what those accounts subsequently do within the ecosystem.
Well, I mean, tell us what's next for these tools. Obviously, you guys are launching these today. I know this is probably taking a lot of work to get out into the wild. But where do you kind of foresee something like Faucet or HashPass going in the future? And what else are you looking forward to within the ecosystem or Hashport or wherever you want to take it? Kind of closing thoughts here.
Yeah, I mean, working with other platforms in terms of maximizing the benefit for the ecosystem, I think is top of mind, especially HashPass in particular. It will become as valuable to the ecosystem as the ecosystem wants it to be. And in other words, as platforms start to leverage it and rely on it for information and feedback as to whether an account, is more trustworthy than another account, that is definitely something that I think over time it will grow into itself and become more and more valuable as a additional, I guess, trust mechanism for the ecosystem and for dApps and platforms. I think one of the big things, obviously, with platforms trying to incentivize user growth and user adoption on their respective services, is you have a finite amount of resources to incentivize, and you obviously want that to be going to legitimate users and not duplicates and people that deserve to take part. And so I think having a service like this will definitely help the ecosystem over time in properly recognizing genuine users for the ecosystem. And I think that only benefits everyone, the platforms as well as other users, to make things more trustworthy and fair. And then from the faucet side of things, being able to quickly and easily get into a new network that you want to try out, rather than running into roadblocks, I think is incredibly important, especially as these networks, and particularly Hedera, is looking to expand and capture the attention. I really think that Hedera as a whole, the value proposition that the network brings to various use cases in terms of fair ordering, finality, and the gold standard security that is ABFT, all these different things. Users really need to experience that. The proof's in the pudding, and so if you can get users to experiment with and play with immediately the network, it's really different than just reading it or trying to understand it and conceptualize it versus actually experiencing it. So I think being able to get people to quickly be able to come into the network when they want to is very, very important.
Yeah, I think on and off ramps, obviously, huge. So which networks right now? I see Base, Arbitrum, I think that's Linea, Script, Optimism, Ethereum. Which networks right now will integrate with the HBAR Faucet? If you could maybe give us just a brief overview.
Yeah, all those that are listed there.
Which one is this? What are these last two ones? I don't recognize.
It's actually a little smaller. The last one is ZK Sync.
Okay.
I can't see the other one. Is
Shape.
I'm not entirely sure.
There we go. Okay, Shape. Scroll. Oh, I said Script. It's Scroll. Yeah, Optimism, Linea, Arbitrum, Base, Ethereum, Shape, and ZK Sync. Well, hey, I mean, congratulations on launching. I think it's huge. Laying the foundation for a safer, more open Hedera, where it's much easier to onboard, and anybody can onboard really in seconds, really at this point in time with this launch. But Ease of entry, trust at scale with the HBAR Faucet and HashPass. For those that want to go check this out, please go check it out, faucet.hashport.network. And you can go learn all about everything that Hashport contributes into the Hedera ecosystem at hashport.network. Always awesome to have Jesse on with us today, though. And thank you to Hashpack for helping us to put these podcasts together. And thanks, Jesse. Appreciate you joining today.
Thanks for having us. Appreciate it, Solomon.